So what exactly is the difference between a Nikon Z30 and a Sony ZV-E10? Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus. So good, so good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is going to be a photo day. We're going to be talking about the brand new Nikon Z30. There's been a lot of hype about this camera over the past couple of months, and finally it's announced, and a few people already have their hands on it and tested it out. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about what this camera is and where I think that Nikon is going with it. And I think it's a little bit contrarian to what they said from, let's say, about a year and a half ago, when they said, you know what, we're not going to be doing any more consumer grade cameras. We're putting our foot down. Well, that kind of didn't happen, did it? So before we get into this, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out. Go over to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. Also, look at this merch, Life After Adobe. This is to commemorate my Life After Adobe Cutting the Cord series. I have this merch if you want to pick that up over on the website, JCristina.com also. The other thing I want to say that is if you like this type of content, all right, throw the video a thumbs up. That will let me know that you like it and you want more of it. I've been doing a lot of Starlink as of late, and just people love it and they're giving me tons of thumbs up, so I've been doing a lot more of them. If you like the photo stuff, let me know. If you like the video, let me know. If you want me to do more how-tos, like maybe behind the computer, let me know. We will do it. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel as of yet, please do so and click this little bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And if you want to say thank you, you can always do so by clicking the little thank you button down there, or just simply becoming a member of the channel. That would be awesome. Would love to have you. So let's jump right into this. What I did is I took a look at the specs on the Sony ZV-E10 and the brand new Nikon Z30, which is now a year younger, let's say, because it's coming out now in comparison to that ZV-E10. Now, just so you know, as a point of reference, I'm currently using the ZV-1 to record myself here, and over there, I'm using the Canon EOS R. So we have two different systems completely going. I like using a lot of like hodgepodge stuff. It doesn't need to be all the same. I'm not a fanboy one way or another. A lot of my professional work I end up shooting Canons with just because I have a lot of money invested in it, but I can shoot anything. It doesn't really make a difference. So what I wanted to do is look at the specs and compare them between the two. Very, very similar applications. They are vlogger cameras. Can you use them as a proper camera? Yes, but they're more for video-centric for the vlogger crowd, or as Nikon calls it, the younger crowd. So that's what these are for. So to start out with, they're both obviously APS-C sensors. The Nikon has a 21 megapixel sensor, whereas the Sony has a 24 megapixel sensor. So the Sony is like a proper 4x6. Just think about it. 6,000 by 4,000, whereas the Nikon is 5,568 by 3,712. Now, if you look at the maximum native ISO, it is 51,200 on the Nikon and only 32,000 on the Sony. And the same thing is when you boost these numbers. They call it maximum boosted ISO. On the Nikon, we're going all the way up to 250,000. It's 204,800 is what they call it. Whereas the Sony will only get you up to 51,200. I think these numbers are always a ruse. They're just such a farce. It's just such bullshit. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just nonsense, okay? These cameras are APS-C sensor cameras. The maximum they're going to do before they get just noisier than hell is probably 3,200, 6,400 maybe. If you hit 12,800, you're going to probably have to do a lot of work to be able to get a lot of that noise out of your image. And then, of course, it always depends on what you are comfortable with. Some people just want to shoot ISO 100, 200, that's it. Anything above that, oh no. You know, I'm a purist. I want to make sure everything is as sharp as possible, whereas other people are a little bit more lenient with their ISO or their grain. The same thing holds true with film photographers. Some of the film photographers just love those thick, big, fat, chunky grain in their film, where other ones want it smooth like butter. It just depends on what you're looking for. But either which way, I would not take any of these numbers to heart. These cameras are going to do 3200, 6400 about at best, period. Anyways, if we look at all of these other features, and I'm just going to rattle these off real fast because these are all of the same. On the autofocus side, you have AF touch, AF continuous, AF single, AF tracking, AF selective, AF center, AF multi-area, AF live view, on and on and on. All of the AF features, the face detect, contrast detect, the phase detect, it has all of them on both sides. They're literally identical. If we go to lenses, things shift a little bit. The Nikon Z in comparison to the Sony E mount are like polar opposite. The Z mount are sitting at about like 32 lenses, whereas the Sony E is like at 182 or something. It's a massive, massive disparity between the two. But also keep in mind, the new Nikkor, their DX line or their APS-C line of Z lenses, there's like 5, I think. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a few. And the thing is they're all crap lenses, in my personal opinion. I like lenses that have a fixed aperture. So a 2.8, let's say, or a 4.0 or something. I don't want a variable mess. So when you're zooming in, you're getting darker and darker and darker because you're closing down your aperture. It's just ridiculous. So let's say we were looking at a Nikon Z lens, a DX Z lens. That's the 18 to 140. Well, that has a variable aperture that starts out at 3.5. And by the time you're zoomed into 140 millimeters, you're at 6.3. So you went from a very bright image to a very dark image. Or your camera has to compensate. How does it do that? Number one, it can either slow down your shutter. Now you probably end up with blurry images, or it'll have to just push up the gain or increase your ISO. So now you went from an ISO of, let's say, 800, and the time you get all the way zoomed in at 140 millimeters, you're sitting at an ISO of maybe 3200 or 6400, something crazy. And this is the problem that I always have with these variable lenses. I don't like them. To me, they're junk. Now, is there a few good ones out there? Yes. But in my personal opinion, spend the extra money, carry the extra weight, and get a steady, steadfast aperture lens, a 2.8, a 1.4, a 1.2, a 4.0, whatever it is, that doesn't change. My advice from doing this for over 20 years. As far as the back screen, it's the same fully articulating back screen on both of these. They're both 3-inch screens on the back, both touch and whatnot. So they are almost identical. And they have almost 1 million dots of resolution on both. I think it's like 900 and some thousand on the Sony and 1 million flat on the Nikon, but it's going to be the same thing, no matter how you look at it. Another thing that changes between the Nikon Z30 and the Sony ZV-E10 is stabilization. The Nikon has none, whereas the Sony has some. It has digital stabilization. It doesn't have its really nice in-body image stabilization as some of their other cameras do, but it still has digital, whereas the Nikon does not. Now, when it comes to continuous shooting, you're going to get 11 frames per second on both of them. Once again, identical. Now, when it comes to video, things change a little bit on maximum video resolution, whereas on the Sony, you're getting 3840 by 1920, whereas on the new Z30, you're getting 3840 by 2160. So it's a little bit more square instead of long. That's it, between the two sensors. And what I find very interesting here is that the Sony does give you a mic in and a headphone jack out, whereas the brand new Z30 doesn't. It gives you, yes, a microphone in, but it doesn't give you the headphone out. Why is that if you're building a photocentric camera? I don't know. I don't get that at all. Maybe one of you guys can tell me why you would do that. Now, one thing that Nikon does have over the Sony is what they're stating is that it does have an environmental seal in it. Let's call it weather sealing on that Z30, whereas the Sony, the ZV-E10, does not. Now, when it comes to weight and size, the Nikon Z30 is definitely larger and more weighty. But what I don't understand is that weight doesn't translate into shots. So the battery doesn't seem to be more weighty, but the actual unit is. Why that is, I don't know. But as far as battery life goes, you're looking at 330 shots for the Z30, whereas the Sony is going to give you 440 shots. That is a major difference. So I don't know if they're just using a better battery in the Sony in comparison to the Z30. I don't know. But that is a big difference. You're looking at about 30% more shots on the Sony compared to the Z30. So as far as the actual specs, they're literally, as you can tell, identical. There's not much difference. Like if I was to look at these two cameras and say, well, which one do I want to buy? I would be hard pressed to decide one way or another. I think what will end up happening is the Nikon people out there will be like, oh, I have a ZV-1 or a ZV-E10 now that I can buy that is actually a Z camera in comparison to a Sony. I don't see any other difference. I do like that there's a headphone jack on the Sony. That is a problem to me, but I also do like the weather sealing that's on the Nikon. So there's not a lot here to really discuss or talk about. Now, what I also think is very interesting here is when you look at their vlogger kit. I mean, the damn thing looks identical to Sony's vlogger kit. It even has that same multi-function grip, right? Where you can use it as like a mini tripod, or you can fold it up and use it as a grip. I mean, it looks identical. So the way I see it here is that Nikon Z30 is actually a Z50 simply without an EVF. I mean, there's not much more to it than that, I don't think. If you guys see it a little bit different, I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think. I personally like when they came out with the ZFC, because now it was something more retro. For me, it had that retro vibe that I really liked. It was kind of cool. Whereas this, I feel like it's just like a cookie cutter cut paste of what has already been done in the past. And I think there's something to be said about that. I feel that the camera market today, there is a lot of copy pasting going on, right? Control C, Control V. Innovation seems to be dying on the vine. We're seeing a hell of a lot more of this duplication or iteration happening in comparison to that innovation that we used to see. It's almost like these camera manufacturers just saying, like, what do we need to do to make a buck these days? And that's what they're doing. I think Nikon saw the writing on the wall. They stopped making consumer grade cameras completely, and it really hurt their bottom line. I've said this in the past. Canon, Sony, I don't care who the manufacturer is. You can go down the litany, the whole list. They all have what I call loss leaders. Cameras that bring fresh blood into the platform or into their system. And when you don't have that and you follow the path, oh, you know, we're not going to make any consumer grade cameras anymore because we're being beaten up by Apple and Samsung, and people are buying camera phones instead of buying an actual camera. The smartphone is probably the #1 leading camera on the planet. That's just simply the way it is. People are not investing in a proper camera anymore until they find a need. And once again, if you don't produce consumer grade products that give the consumer pause and say, you know, should I get this brand new iPhone 19 or should I buy a proper camera for a cheaper price and keep my iPhone 18? I think that is really what these manufacturers need to do. Give this value added proposition so that when people look at the images that come out of their iPhone or their Samsung or whatever, and they look at them, they're like, wow, they're really good during the day, but at night they look like complete crap. How do we fix this? If I go to an event, I can't bring my phone or I can't use my phone because then the pictures will look like just garbage. So I need a proper something and I need it smaller, lightweight, and compact. That's one of the reasons why the Sony ZV-E10, what I'm using right now to record, did so well. It not only did well with the vlogger community, but it did well with the people that just need a point and shoot, because this has a Zeiss lens built into it, a very fast Zeiss lens that does an amazing job. And it is cheap. I ended up buying this, I think it was $500-600 or something. So that is a price that is half the price of buying a brand new iPhone these days. So to have maybe a year-old iPhone or Samsung phone and purchasing this camera and sticking that into your pocket, it's probably not a bad idea. And it's literally about the size of your iPhone. It's actually smaller, it's less wide, and maybe double the thickness. So it's not that big, and it is pocketable. So I really do think that Nikon kind of bit themselves in the ass when they stopped making consumer-grade product. Because while, yes, it's difficult and the road is definitely harsh, you need to have that loss leader to bring people into the brand. And once you lose that, all you're left with is the super enthusiasts out there, the pro-ams, and the professionals. And the problem with that is you simply cannot sell enough wares to pay your bills, to keep your light on, and keep all of those factories running. So if you want this camera, the price of it is about $700, $710 for the body. And if you want that 16-50 that they have with that variable lens, you can pick it up for $850. So figure on an extra $140 and you get that 16-50 variable lens, which is like, I think it's a 3.5 to 6.2 or something like that. My personal opinion, what I've always done is when I purchase a camera, I never buy the camera as a kit, because usually the kit lens are garbage. There's only a couple of cameras in the past that actually put out a really good kit lens. I'm not going to get into those, but there's only a few. The majority of them, I would recommend buying the body by itself and then buying a lens that you want, the specific lens that is going to be good for what you're doing. It simply makes more sense. It's good value. It's a better value. Anyways, guys, I want to know your thoughts on the Z30. Do you think this is something for you? Are you excited about it? Are you going to buy it? Are you going to be the first one in your community to have one? Or possibly are you a vlogger and you're looking at this as a possible way to stay in the Nikon ecosphere? I want to know your thoughts. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and click this little bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all, and have a really good 4th of July weekend, guys. Take care.